Hola, buenas tardes. Bienvenidos todos a esta Biblioteca Juan Bosch en el marco de la celebración del 7º Festival Internacional de Cine Global. Esta tarde tenemos con nosotros una invitada muy especial. Es un honor presentarles a Michelle Mater y la dinámica que vamos a utilizar esta tarde para el conversatorio, para su exposición, va a ser la siguiente. Cada uno tiene los equipos para escuchar la traducción simultánea. Entonces, primero yo voy a hacer una presentación de Michelle, que la voy a hacer en inglés para que todos la puedan escuchar y vamos a tener la traducción. Y luego ella nos tiene unos cortos, unos clips preparados y nos va a contar un poco de qué va todo. Michelle Mater is an African-American television and film producer, writer, administrator, consultant, strategist, entrepreneur, and educator. She earned a master's degree in educational media from Boston College. Independent film media consultant to filmmakers and film video organizations on issues related to strategy, fundraising, distribution, marketing, outreach, programming, and production issues. Okay. For more than a decade, she has programmed the Harlem Film Festival series at Aaron David Hall at the Campus University of City College, which now moved to BAM, which is Brooklyn Academy of Music, and was its coordinating marketing and outreach consultant for the Haiti on Screen Film Festival, sponsored by New York University in March 2004. So, in addition to that, I would like to mention some of the courses she has taught. Storytelling through visual analysis, viewing diversity in African diaspora, movements in World Cinema 1, race, ethnicity, class and media, script analysis, demystifying distribution, film distribution, and new media. And now, welcome to Michelle Mater.
Gracias. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for my Spanish is not good enough to speak in Spanish today. I apologize. But welcome, everyone. I'm glad to see some of the students from yesterday. Bienvenidos. Gracias por venir. As Brando just said, my career is quite varied. And I think one of the things I have learned in this business, in this industry, is to be open to new opportunities, to take advantage of things when they are presented to you, because you never know where they might lead. And I think that's probably the best advice I can give you. How many people are considering film as part of your career? Let me see your hand. ¿Cuánto es una cineasta?
¿Cuántos desean ser cineastas?
¿Sí?
O trabajar en la industria del cine.
Or, yes, soon. Bueno. Entonces, one of the things I found when I was just at the Trinidad and Tobago Festival last month was that there's not a lot of information, not a lot of research on women filmmakers in general. And there's even less on Caribbean women filmmakers and African American women filmmakers. There's hardly any. So I had to do a little research on my own to get some numbers for you. And like the panelists yesterday, Cindy and Sole and Marta Gonzalez, as they said, the situation is getting better for women. So Don't worry, not that pobre.
especially in Dominican Republic, right?
Ah, en Dominicana, sí, y también en Trinidad and Tobago. Sí. I'm on the board of directors of an organization called Women Make Movies. And we distribute over 500 films by and about women, documentaries or experimental films. And the organization exists on its income, totalmente, because that's how much people want to see these films, which doesn't happen very often. Most nonprofit organizations have to write grants and get foundation support, but to have your own income from distribution is a very good thing. And so this organization has existed for 40 years now on its own income. It's important. Today I want to introduce you to some Caribbean women filmmakers, and to talk about why it's important that women are represented behind the lens. Here in Dominican Republic, I see there's lots of actrices. Hay mucho actriz. Pero not as many people interested behind the camera. How many people want to be actors? ¿Sí? Ah, no, sí. Okay. Está bien, está muy bien. Pero entonces también es importante behind.
Detrás de cámaras.
Detrás de cámaras.
Detrás de
Sí,
cámaras.
You can be a cinematographer, como ella y él. You can be a screenwriter, escritor, ¿sí?
Guionista.
A script supervisor. How do you say that?
Exacto. Supervisor de guión.
Supervisor. That's a person who, you know how when you go to the movies and you see somebody who has a different change of clothes on in the same scene? They made a mistake. That was a bad script supervisor. Didn't do her job well or his job well. Script supervisor is very important.
Or didn't have a watch and then suddenly appears with a watch.
Yes, exactly. Didn't have a watch, didn't have a hat, and then has a hat. That's the script supervisor's job. It's a very important job. There's also people who do lighting, casting, publicity, public relations, todos los trabajos. Wardrobe is big.
Yes.
Wardrobe. Sí. So don't think that just because you're not a director or producer that there's not something else that you can do. There are many other jobs you can do. Also, when women make films, we tend to make films with more women characters, more positive women characters. Our characters are more complex, more humanistic, and our stories are more universal. Yesterday, that was another thing that the panelists said. When you're writing scripts, to remember to make your scripts appeal to a lot of people, different people. Anybody can relate. Women do those kinds of films and write those kinds of stories. What we find is that because we have so few positive women role models in media, not just in film, but in television, in magazines, print ads, etc., that young women, young girls, as young as age 6, have already begun to think of themselves as sexual objects. That's not good. We need to show young women, young girls, that they have more going for them than just being sexual objects, right? And that's why it's important for women to be behind the camera, to write the scripts, to direct the films, and have more voice in cinema. It also shows that girls will have more self-esteem, high self-esteem, when we see positive images of ourselves. We'll have less teenage pregnancies, And young girls will get, if you don't have those positive images, you tend to get involved in abusive relationships. All of those things we want to get rid of.
Fight against them.
Fight against. So I'm going to skip over that. I want to show you some films today from women who are from all over the Caribbean, who are currently making films, who have films in festivals right now, or on television right now, or in the theater as we speak. And there are some amazing films. So the first one I'm going to show you is Elsa by Mariette Montpierre. She's from Guadeloupe, and she was raised in Paris, and she attended the Sorbonne University in Paris and Smith College in the US. And she has a very busy career as a commercial producer and director. She makes commercials. That's how she makes her living. But she does independent film as her passion. So we're going to see right now a clip on the screens here, right? From Elsa.
À la première diplômée de la famille. Merci, maman. Elsa, je suis fière de toi.
Tu vas faire quoi avec tout ce pognon?
M'acheter un billet d'avion et retourner là-bas. C'est hors de question. Tu cherches? Qu'est-ce que tu espères trouver là-bas?
Dégagez.
Y a personne qui t'attend, Elsa. Personne.
Vous êtes la babysitter envoyée par l'agence?
Oui?
Si j'ai un conseil à te donner, reste pas trop longtemps dans cette famille.
Do you see the last line there? It says the first film by a Guadeloupean woman filmmaker to be made in Guadeloupe and then to be released theatrically around the world. This film has been in 37 film festivals. And we opened the film in New York.
Pause.
Okay. We opened the film in New York, and it has gotten amazing reviews. The New York Times reviewed the film. It has been done very well in the educational market as well.
Is it available in DVD yet?
It's not yet, not available yet. But one of the things to know, the story to this film is about a young girl, young woman, Elsa, who is looking for her father. She grew up and she has these vague memories of her father, but she hasn't seen him since she was a little girl. And so she goes, as she graduates from college, she goes back to her homeland of Guadeloupe to look for him. And that's a story that many young women from all over the world can relate to, right? And so Mariette, the filmmaker, has used this film to talk about the issue of fathers missing from their daughters' lives, their children's lives.
Was she abandoned by her father?
It's very based on her own story, yes.
Okay.
It is based on her own background. So it was an important story for her to make as well. So the next clip I'm going to show you is another new film, and this is available on DVD. How many people know who Angela Davis is? Angela Davis? No?
Yes.
Sí.
Not many.
Only none know jóvenes. No. Angela Davis was probably one of the most famous of the Black Panther Party in the United States.
Yes.
Yes. She is also a professor at UCLA in California, sociology, and she has an amazing ability to captivate people's attention and to bring knowledge about subject matters like the corporate prison system. That's her big issue right now.
She was a political prisoner?
She herself was a political prisoner, and that's what this film is about. It's called Free Angela and All Political Prisoners, and the filmmaker is Shala Lynch, who has a background from her family is from Barbados. I'm sorry, Tobago.
The film is from 2004, right?
No, that's the film. That's the Shirley Chisholm film.
release.
That's her previous film
Oh, I see.
about Shirley Chisholm, who was from Barbados. Shirley Chisholm was the first black congresswoman in the United States in the 1970s, and she actually ran for president in 1972.
The first one.
Did anybody know that we had a black woman run for president
Sí,
in
so.
the United States in 1972? You didn't know that, did you? And she was from Barbados. Yes, her family was from Barbados. Okay, how do I get to the next one? Here we go. Okay, this
Angela.
is Free Angela.
Philosophy professor Angela Davis admitted that she is a member of the Communist Party.
Hoover put her on the top 10. Everybody had a file on it.
Her first lecture drew 2,000 students.
Angela's education is now being put into practice.
Angela Davis purchased 4 guns.
There is a conspiracy in the land. It's a conspiracy to wipe out the black community as a whole.
Well, I think she's trying to overthrow our system of government, and she admits that.
The actions of the FBI in apprehending Angela Davis are a rather remarkable story.
A U.S. District Court judge set bail at $100,000.
She knows that the movement to free all political prisoners is growing every day.
This entire incident was a deliberate provocation.
They wanted to break me. They wanted me to respond.
There was enormous feeling for Angela everywhere in the world.
We know that she is innocent.
We want to tell that Pharaoh in Washington to let Angela Davis go free.
What they're doing to her is an exaggerated form of what happens every day to black people in this country.
What does it mean to be a criminal in this society?
They are not going to kill her. They're not going to imprison her. We're going to free her. We're going to win her freedom.
So this film is a must-see for anybody who's interested in politics and history, and not only African-American history, but American history, because Angela Davis is, she's still around. She's still very vibrant. She's teaching still. She has a lot to give, a lot of knowledge to still give. So that is available on DVD. That is available right now, I think, on Amazon or Netflix. So please encourage your teachers to get this for you.
Shala Lynch.
Shala Lynch, yes. Family from Tobago. And next, first of all, how many people know the difference between a documentary and a narrative film? Documentario y ficción.
Sí.
¿Tú conoces la diferencia? No? No? This last film you just saw is a documentary, right? It's based on a real story. It is not scripted. It has interviews, first-person interviews with people who are involved in the topic. So Angela Davis is very much in this film. There's also a lot of archival footage.
The real Davis, Miss Davis.
Yes, not an actress. No one is here in there is an actress. The previous film, Elsa, that's a narrative film. That's a scripted fiction film. That has a script. It has actors, right? It's based on a real story. It's based on the director's real story.
Yes.
But it's a scripted narrative fiction film. Okay? So I just want to show you the range of the kinds of films that Caribbean women filmmakers are making as well. Okay. Last year, here at the festival. Yaniles Perez was shown, her work was shown, and I have a little clip of the video that she was introducing her film. Let me see if I can find that.
Del otro lado.
Yeah.
Bueno, amigos, y también Francia, ahora sí que representando, porque estoy hablando con mi amiga fuera de cámara que está viviendo en París.
Sí, vivo en París, soy dominicana y estoy en esta ocasión representando una película como directora que ya ha recorrido varios festivales internacionales y finalmente llegó a su país donde fue grabada. Vivo en París y bueno, y trabajo como actriz allá. Mi último trabajo fue Carlos, una película de Olivia Sayas que estuvo en Cannes y ganó un Golden Globe, pero estoy súper contenta de estar aquí en mi país, en este festival, que es la primera vez donde estoy, y presentando un proyecto que dirigí con gente local, gente joven y gente apasionada del cine. Entonces para mí es un placer.
Pues usted es una mujer muy linda, muy hermosa y con un alma extraordinaria. La dejo porque tengo varias cositas que hacer, pero la verdad espero verla pronto y un gran placer. Au revoir, madame.
Au revoir.
There's another film that I really love called Jeffrey's Calypso from Trinidad and Tobago. And the filmmaker is Vashti Anderson. Vashti went to NYU Film School. She grew up in the Midwest in the United States, but her family is from Trinidad. And she remembers her grandmother teaching her how to dance to calypso music, teaching her how to cook traditional food. And so she grew up with a great sense of her culture, her grandparents' culture. And so Vashti made this film called Jeffrey's Calypso.
Ese es parte del trabajo que hace Michelle, que es precisamente lo más importante en su vida, quizás, que es la distribución de estas películas que son de muy difícil acceso, que son películas hechas por mujeres o no solo mujeres, ¿verdad? Not just women. No, por independent
filmmakers of color.
Exacto.
Okay. And this film is called June and Julia. It's made by Sonia Dumas. She is a filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago as well. Her background is as a dancer. She's a dancer, choreographer. And she started making films to teach people how to dance. And so this film called Julia and Joyce is a story of two dance pioneers in the Trinidad and Tobago area. And she uses her filmmaking with her choreography to produce experimental and documentary film. So this is a documentary about two women in Trinidad and Tobago who are veterans or established women dancers from that area. She also has a new short film called Tickle Me Rich, which is very funny, but it's not appropriate for this this crew right here. So we won't be showing that today. But this is Julia and Joyce.
The hell on back is so good. Dancers have it, especially the female dancer.
Julia Edwards was one of the premier limbo dancers in Trinidad, and her troupe was one that brought limbo around the world.
I never saw Julia get vexed, except for, that's not the way I want you to do the step.
I went half around the world with Julia.
One of the things that's amazing about limbo is that it becomes the iconography of the Caribbean.
Yes, they keep fighting me on this limbo business because limbo is the national dance of this country.
I came into dance, I think by accident, and sometimes I think it was inevitable.
Now, are you looking, who told you to move that?
Joyce is foremost an educator. She was at pains to make sure that they understood the whole tradition.
The one we all love and we still here, don't make me turn into a custard.
I had no difficulty in letting people know that your behavior is not appropriate.
She was always an inspiration to me because young men aren't always all that confident of themselves. And Joyce was always this big sister.
Well, as you can see, this is a documentary about dance and documenting our culture. So a lot of Caribbean women filmmakers document our cultures, and it's about teaching young people. Those are the kinds of stories that Caribbean women filmmakers tend to make, right? Two more films I just want to show you quickly. I hope these have sound. We're going to go to them next.
People know that your behavior is...
I have a question.
Yes, question while I set this up.
What about movies from Jamaica? Have you ever worked with Jamaican films?
I've worked with one film. Somebody said something? I worked with recently. I worked with the filmmaker who did Kingston Paradise, Mary. God, how could I forget her last name?
Because I ask you because we're neighbors and
Yes.
we hardly know
Anything of Jamaica?
except maybe from The Harder They Fall.
Right, and
Which
probably
is a
also,
classic now.
and probably also the more Shatas and Third World Cop and
Exactly.
those films, but we don't get to see films like
Or Bob Marley.
or Bob Marley films. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the problem, and that's what we want to try and correct. We want to try and get more people exposed to film coming out of the Caribbean and getting more visibility outside of the region. So that's one of the things that I do a lot in my work, in trying to get that exposure for these films. So this next film is by Michelle Stevenson, who is a Haitian-American filmmaker. And she and her husband, Joe Brewster, have this film is out right now in the States. It's called American Promise. And it's a great film. They documented her son's school experience in school from the age of 5 to 18.
In Haiti.
No, in New York.
In New York.
And as you know, I'm not sure if it's the same here, but we have a big problem with young African American and Latino males in the States not staying in school and not graduating from high school. And so this film they made as hopefully to show what some of the issues are for young men in not only the public schools, but in private schools, because her son went to a private school, his best friend went to a public school. And it shows what the trials and tribulations are, the challenges for them in different stages of their school careers. So this is a film that's out right now called American Promise.
Idris.
Yeah?
Tell me about your girlfriend.
I don't have a girlfriend. You're just shy. I'm not shy.
Idris is extremely bright.
Shayon's creativity is exceptional.
What we teach at Dalton is to teach them they have a voice.
It's my best school and I love it there. I would like to be a professional basketball player when I grow up.
I want Shayon to be comfortable around white folks because I think even at this point, I am not comfortable around white folks.
How do you feel about being one of the few black kids there? Is that ever an issue?
No, it's never an issue.
Good try, Idris!
Dalton will open doors for him for the rest of his life. You see the inauguration? At one point, I was thinking what we're doing could pay off in something like this. Not that I want you to be the president of the United States.
I'm not going really good in school. I get really frustrated.
My basketball team, they said, oh, you talk like a white boy.
They told us that our son is a hard-to-manage guy. They don't know him.
There's a cultural disconnect between independent schools and African-American boys, and the question is why?
I hate school. It's bad. It's hard.
The problem is focusing on class.
After you leave Dalton, where do you go?
I really don't want to leave.
I don't think it was, frankly, a good match for him.
I'd be better off if I was white. Isn't that true?
This is unacceptable. Sit up!
It's laziness.
Something is wrong with my child.
People would say, wow, you're controlling his entire life. Well, I think we weren't controlling enough.
Dad is not giving up on you. I'm hard because I want you to be a better man than I am.
I think I'm ready for college.
I can't take life for granted.
It feels so right. Just calling my name.
There's nothing you can't do in this world. We back you up all the way.
The Triumph Award goes to Shay Summers. This is just the beginning.
Even through all the struggles, I feel like I'm going places.
You should be proud.
So that film is, do you get PBS here? Public television from the States? It's available on public television. So you should be able to see this on TV here. Yeah. American Promise, okay? So as you can see, this film won many festival awards, and it's gotten a lot of attention across the globe, and it's still playing many, many places. And there's another film here at the festival, actually, that you should all see. Fruitvale Station. Anybody heard of that film? Fruitvale Station. When is it playing? Does anybody know off the top of your head? Is it tomorrow? Tomorrow night. Everybody should go see that film. Fruitvale Station. It's about a young man in Oakland, based on a true story. It's a narrative. It's a fiction film based on a true story about a young man in Oakland, California, who has a run-in with the police. That's all I'm going to say. That you should see. Saturday at 9:15. At the Blue Mall. Thank you, Catherine. And the last film I want to show you is a clip from a film called Las Martas by Cristina Ibarra. Cristina is a Mexican-American filmmaker, and this is her second feature film that she's working on now. And it's the story of, well, you'll see. You'll see from the clip, but Cristina has made many films that have shown all over the United States and on PBS. She's won many foundation awards from the Rockefeller Foundation, from NALIP, which is the National Association of Latino Independent Producers. And she's currently developing 2 projects, a documentary entitled Mother Martas, which is this one, and a feature film, Love and Monsters. So this is a clip of her and her co-producer talking about Las Martas.
I'm Cristina Ibarra, and I am the producer-director of Martas. Yeah.
And I'm Erin Plus Campomor, and I'm the producer of Martas. Our film is a celebration of a colonial ball that takes place every year in South Texas, Laredo, Texas, where Mexican-American girls from the community dress up like figures of the American Revolution, a tradition that dates back 114 years.
As soon as I saw the elaborate gowns that the debutantes wear for the celebration, I knew I had to make this film because it was a way to explore Mexican-American identity in a whole different perspective. I'm always looking for films that take me back home to the border where I grew up, and I felt like this film was another opportunity to explore that kind of cultural landscape from an entirely different perspective.
I was really drawn to working on this film because it was an opportunity to talk about this very little known tradition that takes place along the border and to look at the border from a fresh perspective. So often what we hear about this part of the world is about the violence and illegal immigration, and here we're talking about a Latino community where the most popular saying is, we didn't cross the border crossed us.
One of my highest hopes for this film is for an American who doesn't live in the border to be able to look at Mexican Americans or Latinos and remember it's like not all Latinos are immigrants, or to break down stereotypes about what a Mexican American is, what a Mexican American looks like, what the role of Mexican American citizen is within the American public, right? So that, on a very basic level, would be one of my highest ideals. But then there's also layers beyond that where I would love to be able to kind of create this space to talk about identity, like who are we, what makes us who we are, what is stronger, family bonds or national borders? I mean, these kinds of questions are really fascinating, and I think they go beyond any kind of, ethnicity.
I was going to talk about how to get your work out into the world in a broader way. So I'll just briefly talk about that, and then I want to have questions from you, so I hope you guys are getting your questions together. So film festivals, international film festivals, is a very major part of getting exposure. You can go to film festivals like this that we have right here, right now, to see many films from all over the world, and by a lot of other women, by women from a lot of other places, as well as from Dominican Republic and other places in the Caribbean. But the more films that you see, if you're interested in making films, the more ideas you get. It gives you a different way of looking at things, different perspective, because we should be making our own images. We shouldn't be looking to Hollywood to make images for us, right? How many people think that Hollywood knows how we should look like? Do you think? How many people think so? No. So we have opportunity here. As young filmmakers, filmmakers of color starting out, you should have a better idea, a sense of your own vision and your own voice as to how to make films portray you better.
Bueno, pues nada, muchísimas gracias por su participación. Vamos a despedir a Miss Michelle, por favor. Y desearle muchos éxitos y que siga haciendo el trabajo que ha venido haciendo durante más de 25 años y que es tan importante para todos nosotros, no solamente para la comunidad afroamericana en Estados Unidos, para todos los latinos, los hispanos en general. Bienvenida y hasta pronto.